Okay, guys, let's talk about samurais for a second. So, samurai is, in my opinion, a top tier deck. And then this is not a hot take. Uh, why is it in a format where there's three gateways and three uniteds? Is samurai anything lower than a tier one deck? Well, the reason why is because not a lot of people are playing it, and there's not a lot of people labbing it, and this is where the deck needs to innovate. A lot of people need to innovate this deck, and I think I found the list where this deck can actually do well in big tournaments. So I'm gonna share it with you guys. So it's gonna be three gateways, six Samurai United. So if you guys want to know the accolades of this deck, I've been taking this deck on Dueling Book Ladder for Edison, and I've been playing it off against a lot of different matchups, including Value Turbo. I played against Frog Monarch or Frog Heroes, and I played against Blackwings. Actually, I didn't play against Blackwings. So those two decks are like the best decks in this format, right? Any deck that can abuse Absolute Zero, best deck. Any deck that can use Value Turbo, good deck, right? So I do play the Reckless Greed, as you guys have seen in the titles of the thumbnail, and I also play the Upstart Goblin. So why is it that Reckless Greed is good in this deck? Well, the reason why is because you're allowed to shut off your draw phase because of the plus ones that you get off of Gateway. So the Reckless Theory, if you want to think about it, is if you resolve this card right here, you get two extra cards, right? It looks like a plus one, but it actually isn't, because if you give up your next draw phase, right, then it becomes a neutral. But if you give up the next draw phase, like the second draw phase, then it's a neg one. However, in order to make sure that you don't neg one when you use the Reckless Greed, is you use the Gateway effect every turn. So if you're able to proc the Gateway effect every turn, then it makes it so that the extra cards that you get is paid for by the Gateway. So I think that's a huge theory that people often forget, is that Reckless Greed is a neg one, and if you're able to resolve Reckless Greed, for example, and you're able to draw four cards off these, so you get a plus two. The next two draw phases, you are going neutral. So because the two cards that you got from the plus two, you have to skip two turns in a row. So if you're able to open up double Reckless and then go into a Gateway play, then technically you've actually generated tons of plus ones, because for a Gateway to generate a plus one, you need to have two samurais. So you need to summon the first samurai and the second samurai in order for this to do this, for you to get a plus one. Getting the second Grandmaster on the field is very difficult, but what you do is that a lot of the six samurai effects all have the effects to protect themselves. So if you look at Iroh, Zanji, and what is it, Yaichi, these samurais here, if they're on the field alongside a Grandmaster, you can use the substitution effect to protect themselves in battle or by card effect. And if you destroy the Grandmaster, it goes to the graveyard. But now you don't have a Grandmaster anymore next to your samurais, which means that if you're able to search for, or if you have a second copy of a Grandmaster and you special summon it, right, then you're able to have two more counters next to this, and then you can just normal summon any samurai, and then now your Gateway is able to generate another plus one. So plus ones are good in Edison format, and Stratos, that's the reason why Stratos is good. That's the reason why a lot of different cards that can generate plus ones is really good. And so why samurais, right? Well, why is it good into the metagame? And the reason why is because of Iroh. I only play one copy. Iroh is able to deal with Super Nimble Mega Hamster, and it's a card, if alongside Grandmaster, can clear Super Nimble Mega Hamster or even Raikou. And because of that, it makes this strategy really useful into those matchups. So that's why I think this is a really underrated setup. Of course, I do play the two-hand of the six samurai. If you're worried about frogs dupe blocking you, you do have the hand of the six samurais that is a searchable board wipe. You don't have to board wipe all of their frogs. You just have to deal with the substitute if it's a soft dupe block, or you just have to deal with the dupe block, which is the two dupe frog in defense mode. So the hand of the six samurai in the main deck allows you to clear the dupe block, and so that it doesn't give any trouble to the six samurai. Now, if it is a soft dupe block, then you also have cards like DD Warrior Lady. So why am I playing DD Warrior Lady in this deck? It's because I also play the Honest. So there's a lot of curveballs in this deck for sure. Why would I play Honest in a six samurai deck? Especially since Honest only really powers up light monsters. Well, it's because I have the two DD Warrior Ladies, and because I also have Zanji, being also a light monster that you can pair off with the Honest. It makes it so that I could activate United or even Gateway. If I activate Gateway or United and I summon a Zanji like this, right? This Zanji is vulnerable to being attacked or destroyed in battle. So if they bring out a bigger monster and they attack this guy, the Honest protects the Sanji, and then this way, so that if you do normal summon another six samurai for the turn, this deck has a problem with leaving a samurai out there. If you summon another six samurai, you're able to generate a +1 from there, and you're able to proc their abilities. Hand of the Six is it's an okay choice, but you can also proc Yaichi as well. So if you're able to summon a Yaichi, you can pop like D Prisons, Mirror Forces, or even Torrential if they don't activate it. So Yaichi is really good because of that, and it keeps it so that if they can't deal with the Yaichi on their turn, they can't set a back row that isn't chainable, right? So that really makes a difference between a good Yaichi play and a bad Yaichi play. If you can stick a Yaichi out on the board and you can protect it with Grandmasters by sacrificing the Grandmaster because of the substitution effect, then you take out the Grandmaster off the board, and then you can special summon the second one to put counters on this, and then this will act as a way to ensure that they don't set a non-chainable back row, which is Mirror Force and D Prison. So I know that's pretty complicated to think about, but this deck has like a lot of outs to like current metagame boards, and I feel like this engine paired with this card right here, Phoenix Chain. I do play 3 copies of this. So the reason why Phoenix Chain is not good is because people will flip Raikou to bait out the Phoenix Chain, and then they will sacrifice that Raikou, the same Raikou, in order to summon a Caius. However, if you could deal with the Raikou, right, by using Iroh and popping the Raikou set, then now they have to go into a play where they have to go -1 on a Caius, right? So if they go like, let's say you're playing Diva Heroes, for example, and they special summon Prodigy, and then they sacrifice that Prodigy for a Caius, and you Phoenix Chain. Phoenix Chain does 2 things, right? It negates the Caius ability. It prevents it. Does 3 things. It prevents it from attacking, right? And then this trades with the Infernal Prodigy that was tributed. Essentially, that's what's happening. And then since the Caius cannot attack and is now an attack position monster, then I could use cards like Spirit of the Six here to generate value. And Spirit of the Six is really important in this deck. I forgot to mention this. But because there's 3 Reckless Greed in this deck, you're able to see your power plays. And if you see your power plays, a lot of them is going to involve Gateway and Gateway searching for this card. And since you're skipping your draw phase, this is another crucial element so that these cards don't become -1 overall. It becomes so that this deck is actually really good with Reckless Greed. Whereas in other decks, excluding Dragon Turbo, we're not going to talk about Dragon Turbo, but excluding other Dragon Turbo, it makes it so that this deck is really, really good because now you have your explosive power plays because you have a big hand size, and you're able to mount so much pressure. And I think that Six Samurais in the future has to abuse the Reckless Greed. And of course, I just play the regular spells, Drought Removal, Does Shoot. In order to protect your Gateway plays and your United, you have to have these 2 cards in your deck. Sometimes I think Starlight Road is really bad, but it's good. It's like an insurance in case they do have the Heavy Storm to destroy your Gateway. And then there's 2 Bottomless Trap Hole. So that was the main deck for you. I know it was a wild ride, but I really think that Samurais has a huge place in the meta, and I don't know why people aren't playing it or innovating it, but I really think that a good Samurai player will have a lot of good matchups, especially, and yeah, you'll just do really well, really well. If you guys are interested in the extra deck, it's not that important because Samurais don't use their extra deck, but you only go into Stardust from Starlight Road and then the 3 Chimera Tech because I played the Cyber Dragon side deck. The rest is just variable. I don't play Brain Control, whatever, so you guys don't need to know that. The side deck is 1 Mirror Force. So I side deck Mirror Force for frogs. So people will keep their Unifrog in their, or side deck into Unifrog, whatever it is. And so pulling the rug is actually really useless against Unifrog. So if you side into Mirror Force, the idea is to clear the Unifrog so that you can set your other back rows, and so that your back rows aren't getting destroyed by Heavy Storm because Unifrog has been chipping away at their back row. I love this card, but I only side deck 1, and I only need 1. The idea behind the Anti-Spare Fragrance is that your opponent has to set spell cards, And because they have to set the spell card before using it, it makes it so that Yaichi can actually target it and destroy it. So a lot of different archetype, strangely enough, has ways to deal with back row. And so I think anti-spell is just one of those decks, one of those cards that can do really well with certain archetypes. I've been playing in GBs because of Geysaris to be able to pop back row. I've been playing in X Sabers because they can pick Hyunlei to destroy 3 back row. And then in this deck, Yaichi can pop set cards, and that includes spell cards as well. So definitely use this to my advantage. Third DD Warrior Lady in case I play against Hero Beat, but also against decks that rely on using the monsters in the graveyard, such as Vayu. So I'll side this against Vayu. Just variable. It's a lot of different decks that really hate dealing with DD Warrior Lady. 2 Dust Tornado because it's standard. I've been citing this more and more because Heavy Storm has been losing a lot of flavor for me. So I always side out Heavy Storm against Frogs because Frogs will always have chainable back row. So I'll always set the Dust Tornado for that reason. A card that this deck can abuse the best is Grave of the Super Ancient Organism. For those of you guys who don't know what it does, it makes it so that all face-up monsters that are level 6 or higher that are special summon, they cannot declare an attack or activate their effect. So because the highest level monster in your deck is Grandmaster, it being only a level 5 monster, you can actually declare an attack with all your monsters, and you don't have to worry about big monsters attacking you. I said this for Lightsworns. The idea is that Christia and both JD cannot declare an attack with this card up on the board. If you played against an Absolute Zero deck, Absolute Zero cannot attack. A lot of the big monsters that you can play are unable to attack with this card out. Yeah. And then, of course, you play the 2 DeFis in this deck. DeFi is just overall just really good against most of the meta decks. Being able to stop their crazy mills and using DeFi is a really strong contender. But I decided because Gladiator Beast is coming back, so I don't want to main deck it. 2 Cyber Dragon. 2 Pulling the Rug for the Monarch matchup. Frogs is actually a pretty difficult matchup, but I don't side that heavily for it, even though there's a lot of cards in there. And then a card that a lot of people don't play is Sheen's Castle of the Mist. So I cite this only for Hero Beat, and the idea is that Hero Beat tries to use their alias, and then try to clear your monsters. So if you have Sheen's Castle of the Mist, oh yeah, I forgot to explain what this does. So what this card does is whenever a 6 Samurai monster is attacked by an opponent's monster, during damage calculation, the monster that is attacking the 6 Samurai loses 500 attack points. So most of the monsters that are in the Samurai deck are above, 1300 or above. So worst case scenario, the Stratos has to crash with the Yaichi. The best case scenario for you is that an alias cannot run over any of your monsters, including the Zanji. The Zanji is an 1800 base stat, so if an alias wants to attack into a Zanji, right, then what happens is that they would lose 500 attack, and the alias goes down to 1400 attack, so they wouldn't attack into the alias. So this is kind of like a continuous card that basically protects your samurais from being attacked, so that the following turn, you get to use the samurai abilities to generate you advantage. So using Yaichi to pop the back row, for example, using Zanji to crash, so that if they do Honest, then they lose both the Honest and the monster. And so that's kind of the idea behind Sheen's Castle of the Mist. Hero Beat is basically disappeared. I don't see people playing that deck as much anymore. So I might just cut this card, but we'll see. This is predominantly for Hero Beat. But yeah, that was the deck profile for you guys. I do have some gameplay videos if you guys are interested. Both, I'm going to make 2 separate videos. One of them is going to be for POV for IRL. And then I also have some dueling book replays as well. So if you guys are interested in knowing what my thought processes were as the games go by, definitely click out of this video and then click on those videos if you guys are interested in taking samurais to the next level. Because I'm kind of tired of people putting samurais so low on the tier list. And seeing as gateways at 3 in this format, there's absolutely no reason why samurai should be in any lower tier than 1, in my opinion. But yeah, that's the deck profile, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.